I missed the last part, but about the matching of data. In fact, that's also the question that sometimes people think that documents are just emails or paper stuff, but databases are also documents, in fact. And there you can see when you do on the basis of computer-assisted reporting, we try to match databases and try to look out, but that's of course also with IT people looking how we can match the information and look also where is the line to see the story, because often you have a lot of information, but you have also to look where am I looking at and how can I write a journalistic piece out of it. Yeah.
Anybody else for the question? I mean, it's very interesting. What's the reason? I mean, if you come to something you're not sure of or it's so obvious, you always ask, what's the reason? Why do we need a freedom of information act? Nobody accuses any government of hiding anything. But it's kind of interesting how many articles that are going out from Brussels or the European Union are investigative, or are the product of investigative journalism, or are the product of the use of freedom of information. How many percentage are they?
Well, there is really not that many WOP stories or investigative stories about transparency in Europe. A good example is still the farm subsidy, and that already goes back to 2002. But what you see now, thanks to this kind of conferences where investigative journalists meet, that they get the idea to work together on stories and try to cover a European topic, because you may not forget that almost 75% of the legislation in the member states comes from Europe, but most of the media are national covering, and what we try to do is inspire journalists, but also the media consumers, to also think of where does the European legislation come, where does it involve, also for instance, what is legalized by the water you get in the streaming water, that's based on European legislation. So it's interesting for journalists, if they cover a story on water, is also to go and look in member states and neighboring countries how other journalists are covering that story. And then you can make a European investigative story. And on this, with the Wobbing site, we also try to inspire journalists to work from different countries together on a European level. And that's the way to do European investigative journalism.
Just an example of documents. So European Union has said there's access to all documents. But what then they do is have a number of non-documents, as they call them. So
yes.
if they make accessible documents, doesn't mean there's not much more paper to be found. So we should also make sure that the non-documents are part of the document and not just called non-documents because they don't want to open it.
Yeah.
And I think it's maybe also one of the few lessons we can learn from the US here, because they have a long tradition of government having to do this, and they do it a lot. A lot of stores are dedicated to this. And, so it's very good that this initiative is started, because a lot of European journalists are not aware of this and are very reluctant, and also, as the colleague said, there's some privacy issues here. So it's very good to have the Wobbing there to see how this will be done. And basically you're leading this, the whole fight, I think.
I want to also answer on that what we try to do also mainly with Wobbing is make it used. So when journalists or even citizens will use it more, the legislators will also realize more how it can be used and what's the use of it, because often now we see that like European Union is saying this is document and this is no document, but journalists have really to stand on their, to show that it's really important, and that's also what we try to do with the Wobbing site, of course.
I'm just curious why
Indeed.
So maybe, how do you think that bloggers can be utilizing this, like in the different European countries?
Well, I think first of all they can surf to our website, and get some inspiration what they could Wob. And then of course they can use our forum to exchange their experiences. And if it will be really interesting that a blogger, for instance, starts with a WOP, has the patience to get access to the documents, and then contacts a journalist who is a contributor of our website to get it published in a national newspaper, for instance. Yeah, that's really one of the aims we also have. But first of all, we are looking at good practices and try to inspire journalists and other practices, bloggers, for instance, to start wobbing. And for instance, in a couple of weeks, a colleague and the chief editor of the website, Brigitte Alfter, they will publish a story on the pharma industry and lobbying. How does this happen on national level, and what is the influences on European level? And that's a corporation of a German journalist, a Dutch journalist, and a Belgian journalist. And we try to bring the whole overview of the wobbing experiences on the website, and also show that it can be published in national media. Thank you.